Welcome to a special edition of my daily rant. This one is going to be titled The Emergent Church and Orthodoxy Roots. And basically, the overall gist of what I'm going to tell you is there are some within mainstream Protestantism, as well as those who are a part of this fringe group or this new popular group that's now actually influencing a lot of Protestantism, called the Emergent Church, who have said that they use the old techniques of the Orthodox monks and the Catholic monks through mysticism, which is some of the elements that the monks used to use mind and breathing exercises to reconnect with a better sense of who they are and with God. Well, I've got many things to say about this, so as I said, this is a special edition, and that's why we're putting it on YouTube and then posting it from YouTube onto my page here. And of course, now we can do it from YouTube now. So I guess that allows some of you out there in YouTube land to respond to it if you like. And I guess I can post this to a response on the Emergent Church, just so that, because I saw this study or this documentary that they put on PBS, and I think it was pretty insightful, but I think that they kind of freely put Orthodox in there, and that's not an accurate way of looking at it, and I'm going to put it back into an accurate mindset. So if you will join with me on this short little video, we will go into basically history and differences between what the kind of meditation and prayer that the monks of the Orthodox Church and the Catholic Church used, and the kind of meditation that is used by the basically what I call a New Age group and a cult group, which is in the Emergent movement. Basically, if you're going to understand the Emergent movement, you have to understand its founders. You have to understand the founding principle behind it. Most of these guys that have come out and have written things like Donald Miller's book on some Blue Like Jazz, and Brian McLaren's book, The Story We Find Ourselves. These guys, and I don't know their particular story, but we know for a sure thing that they came from a Protestant background. And they probably came from a Protestant background that was laden with legalism. Their parents and their church, like a lot of Protestant churches, and this is hard for some of you to maybe take, were misconstruing on the gospel. They weren't really focusing on the gospel. The gospel wasn't really being presented. And they seeked to have a new experience because they felt that, if there's really something to do with God, there's an experience. So they summed God up into experience, but the kind of experience that they have lumped it into is a mental body and soul kind of thing. It's like meditation, it's yoga. They've basically made yoga and Christianity into some kind of hip craze thing that they do in LA. That you get out your yoga mat, and your yoga mat is your pew, and your Bible may be there, but you're also going to have 8 keys to healthy living as well. It's completely more focused on oneself. It's focused on the feelings and the ability to just kind of like deconstruct everything that everybody knows. They're a postmodern group who deny the scriptures, they deny the church authority, they deny the church fathers, and they basically kind of want to say, hey, we're Christian, but yet they don't want to abide by the guidelines, if you want. I don't want to use that word, but the core principles behind Christianity, the core doctrinal statements behind Christianity. You look at something like, for example, Blue Like Jazz, which is completely about a guy who wants to escape a situation that he's in, because again, he is putting his whole relationship with God into an experience that's set very limited. Because he's unhappy and because he feels discontent, which a lot of us can understand and agree with, he therefore must go out and find meaning in something. And oddly enough, finding that meaning in something is finding it on absolutes. Um, so that is one of the core driving books and teachings that are propelling the this movement, and that because of this, we have to be aware of it. Uh, my interest, however, in this video is that we clarify what exactly is the Orthodox influence on this, because as it said in the PBS documentary, it said, they were going back to the old ways, and they were trying to reconnect the way that the Orthodox did, because the Orthodox do have monks that are heavily sometimes into mysticism, and they're heavily into meditation. And I've heard another Protestant pastor respond on this, saying that those monks were actually in the wrong. They were taking it off of paganism, which is also another wrong statement. So everyone kind of thinks they know what monasticism and mysticism within Orthodoxy is all about. Well, let me just tell you this. I have been studying Orthodoxy now for 10 years, and I don't know a lot. I mean, I'm like, there's very little about this. What I do know is that the overall principle behind monasticism within the church is the humbling of oneself and the giving up to Christ. And that right there is directly diabolically opposed to this idea of reconnecting oneself. In fact, you can say that monastic life is a deconstruction of all the selfish and pitiful and all the wants and desires and the ability to kind of want to do what these people in the emergent movement are doing. And they don't want to call themselves a movement, yet they call themselves the Emergent Church. They don't really want to be a church. They just want to kind of be able to basically come to these places where they can all sit sofas in the middle of a room, all in a circle, and say, I kind of believe in Jesus. Jesus kind of makes sense to me right now, but I don't know if I believe this about Jesus. I don't know if I can accept this. I can accept Jesus, but I can't accept this. These are some very troubling things, because if one is to truly be Christian, and if one is truly to take on the cross of Christ and follow and become a disciple of Christ, there are core teachings that you have to undertake, because